January 7th, 2026, 3:42 a.m. Caribbean Sea, 140 miles northeast of Venezuela. A ghost ship runs dark through the night. No lights, no transponder, no flag. The MT Sophia, part of Venezuela's shadow fleet. Carrying sanctioned oil, evading international law. But the U.S. Coast Guard has been tracking her for days. And tonight, the chase ends. War Pulse has the exclusive tactical breakdown of Operation Southern Spear's latest intercept. The MT Sophia is a medium-range oil tanker, 40,000 tons displacement, built in 2003. Registered as stateless, meaning no country claims ownership. A ghost ship, part of the Dark Fleet. These vessels operate outside international maritime law. No insurance, no legitimate flag. They transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela, Iran, and Russia to buyers who don't care about rules. And they've been doing it for years. But the Trump administration's Operation Southern Spear changed everything. New policy, new aggression, new rules. The blockade of sanctioned Venezuelan oil remains in full effect, anywhere in the world. Those words from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth 3 days ago. He meant it. The Sophia has been operating in Caribbean waters for 2 weeks. Loading oil at a Venezuelan terminal, then disappearing into international waters. Destination unknown, buyer unknown. But U.S. intelligence tracked every move. Satellite surveillance, P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, Coast Guard cutters on station. The net was closing. At 11:30 p.m. on January 6th, the Coast Guard cutter James receives orders. Intercept MT Sophia. Prepare for boarding operation. The James is a Legend-class cutter, 418 feet long, crew of 148. Armed with a 57mm gun, .50 caliber machine guns, and a shipboard helicopter. Plus, a maritime security response team. Coast Guard tactical operators trained for hostile boardings. The James increases speed to 28 knots, heading toward the Sophia's last known position. At 2:15 a.m., radar contact. Distance, 22 nautical miles. The Sophia is running at 14 knots, heading northeast, trying to reach international shipping lanes. Once there, she disappears into commercial traffic. But she won't make it. War Pulse confirms the boarding operation is a go. Comment if you'd volunteer for this mission. At 2:45 a.m., the James closes to 5 nautical miles. The cutter's powerful searchlights activate, cutting through the darkness. The Sophia is visible now. Dark hull, no markings, no flag. The Coast Guard captain radios, "Motor tanker Sophia. This is U.S. Coast Guard cutter James. Heave to for inspection." No response. The captain tries again. "Sophia, you are operating as a stateless vessel in violation of international maritime law. Stop your engines immediately." Still nothing. The Sophia's bridge is dark, but someone is there, watching. The tanker maintains course and speed. The captain orders, "Deploy the helicopter. Prepare boarding teams." The MH-65 Dolphin helicopter on the James's deck spins up. Rotors turning, engines screaming. 4 Maritime Security Response Team operators board the helo. Full tactical gear, M4 carbines, body armor, night vision goggles. At 3:15 a.m., the Dolphin lifts off. It circles the Sophia at 500 feet, thermal cameras scanning the deck. The pilot radios, no visible crew on deck. Bridge appears manned, no weapons visible. The James closes to 1,000 meters. 2 rigid-hull inflatable boats drop into the water. 12 more tactical operators, armed and ready. This is a classic maritime interdiction, but nothing about it is routine. The Sophia could be armed, the crew could resist. Pirates, smugglers, mercenaries, you never know who's on these shadow fleet tankers. The helicopter pilot radios, "We're going in." The MH-65 descends to 50 feet above the Sophia's deck. The operators fast rope down. 1, 2, 3, 4. They hit the deck weapons ready, scanning for threats. Deck clear, moving to bridge. The rigid hull boats arrive 90 seconds later. 12 more operators climb aboard. Total assault force, 16 Coast Guard tactical operators. Their mission: secure the vessel, detain the crew, seize control. At 3:28 a.m., the lead team reaches the bridge. The door is locked, steel reinforced. Breaching! Hydraulic spreader applied. The door groans, then gives way. The operators flood in. U.S. Coast Guard, hands up, hands up! Inside, 5 crew members, Filipino and Indonesian nationals. Merchant sailors, contract workers, not fighters. They raise their hands immediately. The captain is a 52-year-old Greek maritime officer. He's done this run before. The Coast Guard team leader. Who owns this vessel? Captain. I don't know. I receive orders through encrypted communications. Who chartered this oil shipment? Shell Company, Panama Registry. That's all I know. Where's your destination? We were heading to rendezvous with another tanker, mid-Atlantic transfer. That's how the Shadow Fleet works. Oil loaded in Venezuela, transferred at sea to another tanker. That tanker delivers to a port that doesn't ask questions. Money laundered through shell companies. Everyone gets paid, nobody takes responsibility. But not today. Warpulse has obtained details of what happened next. The boarding team secures the bridge in 8 minutes. Total crew, 18 personnel, all detained without resistance. The operators search the ship, checking for contraband, weapons, hidden compartments. The Sophia is 600 feet long, 3 cargo holds, multiple decks. Searching takes time, systematic, thorough. Team Alpha secures the engine room, 2 engineers detained, no resistance. Team Bravo searches crew quarters, personal belongings checked, phones confiscated. Team Charlie inspects the cargo holds, climbing down steel ladders into darkness. What they find is oil, 35,000 tons of Venezuelan crude. Dark, thick, the smell is overwhelming. Market value, $2.8 million. But the cargo manifest says something different. Refined petroleum products. Origin, Trinidad and Tobago. Lies, all lies. This is raw Venezuelan crude. The chemical signature proves it. The operators take samples, chain of custody, evidence for federal prosecutors. But that's not all. In the captain's cabin, encrypted satellite phones, 3 devices, burner phones. One phone shows recent communications, coordinates, meeting points at sea, transfer locations where oil moves from one tanker to another. The digital evidence is gold. In a hidden safe behind a wall panel, $47,000 in US cash, $23,000 in euros. Payment for the crew, off the books, untraceable. Or so they thought. In the engine room, modifications to the fuel system, designed to extend range without refueling. Extra fuel bladders welded into unused spaces. This ship can cross the Atlantic without stopping. Perfect for smuggling. In the cargo manifest, false documentation, fake bills of lading, forged insurance certificates. Everything designed to make this vessel look legitimate. But it's not. The chief engineer, a 38-year-old Filipino, talks when questioned. We've been doing this run for 8 months. Same route. Load in Venezuela. Transfer at sea. Then disappear. Who pays you? Shell Company, Panama Registry. Money wired to accounts in Singapore. Who owns the company? I don't know. Nobody knows. That's the point. The Shadow Fleet operates on anonymity. No names, no faces, no accountability. Until now. The Coast Guard commander radios the James. Vessel secure, no resistance. Crew detained, recommend full seizure. The cutter's captain. Confirmed. Take her under tow. We're bringing her in. At 4:10 a.m., a prize crew from the James boards the Sophia. They take control of the bridge, the engines, the navigation systems. The Sophia is now a U.S. Coast Guard vessel. Destination: Port Everglades, Florida. ETA: 72 hours. Who's responsible for this? A. Venezuela alone. B. International smuggling network. C. Russia and China backing the operation. But this seizure is just one piece of a larger operation. At the exact same time, 2,800 miles northeast in the North Atlantic, another drama unfolds. The MV Bella 1, recently renamed Marinera and reflagged under Russia. That tanker has been fleeing the Coast Guard for 2 weeks. Across the Atlantic, from Venezuela toward Europe. But U.S. forces corner her near the UK. Special operations helicopters, Navy assets, Coast Guard cutters. At dawn on January 7th, the Marinera is also seized. 2 tankers, 2 operations, same morning. This is coordinated, planned, executed with precision. Operation Southern Spear is not a threat. It's an active military campaign. War Pulse military analysts confirm this changes everything. The Sophia's seizure sends shockwaves through the Shadow Fleet community. Within hours, Tracking data shows multiple tankers changing course. Vessels that were heading toward Venezuela suddenly divert. Some head to Cuba, others to Nicaragua. A few flee toward West Africa. They're scared. Because if the U.S. can seize one tanker, they can seize them all. Venezuela's government explodes with rage. President Maduro addresses the nation at 7:00 a.m. This is piracy. The United States has illegally seized Venezuelan property. We demand the immediate return of our vessels. But there's a problem with that claim. The Sophia isn't registered to Venezuela. She's stateless. Legally, she doesn't belong to anyone. That makes her fair game under international maritime law. Venezuela can't claim ownership without admitting they're violating sanctions. They're trapped by their own deception. Russia issues a statement. The United States is violating freedom of navigation and international law. These aggressive actions threaten global maritime security. But Russia's own recent actions complicate that position. They just reflagged multiple Venezuelan tankers under Russian registry, including the Bella 1 Marinera that was also seized today. Moscow thought a Russian flag would protect these vessels. They were wrong. China's foreign ministry. All nations must respect freedom of navigation and international maritime law. Translation: we're watching. We don't like this. But they don't intervene. Because they know the U.S. has legal authority. Stateless vessels conducting illicit activities in international waters? Fair game. War Pulse has exclusive information on the Shadow Fleet network. The Sophia is one of 47 known vessels operating for Venezuela. These tankers have transported an estimated $8.2 billion in sanctioned oil over the past 18 months. Buyers include Chinese independent refineries, Indian processors, small Caribbean island nations that re-export. The oil gets mixed with legitimate crude, then sold on global markets. Everyone takes a cut. Venezuela gets cash. The ship owners get paid. The buyers get discounted oil. It's an $8 billion smuggling operation. And the U.S. just struck at its heart. Justified or illegal? Comment J for justified, I for illegal. The strategic implications are massive. First, the Shadow Fleet is now a target. 47 vessels, all vulnerable, all potential seizures. Ship owners are panicking, insurance companies are fleeing, crews are refusing assignments. Second, Venezuela's oil revenue is threatened. They depend on these tankers to export oil and generate cash. Without them, the economy collapses further. Third, Russia's attempt to protect these vessels failed. Reflagging under Russian registry didn't work. Moscow's credibility as a protector is damaged. Fourth, China is watching closely. They buy Venezuelan oil through these shadow networks. If the U.S. can disrupt this, it threatens China's energy security. Fifth, this sets a precedent. Not just for Venezuelan oil, but for Iranian oil, North Korean smuggling, any sanctioned maritime activity. The U.S. just demonstrated it will enforce international sanctions anywhere, anytime. The Sophia arrives at Port Everglades on January 10th. She's escorted by the Coast Guard cutter James and 2 Navy destroyers. Media helicopters circle overhead, cameras everywhere. The tanker is docked at a secure terminal, armed guards posted. The 18 crew members are transferred to federal custody. FBI agents meet them at the dock, Homeland Security investigators, DEA officers. The interrogations begin immediately. Crew members are separated, questioned individually. Most are contract sailors, Filipinos, Indonesians, a few Greeks. They're not criminals, they're workers. They took jobs on shadow fleet tankers because the pay is double normal rates. $8,000 per month instead of $4,000. For poor sailors from developing countries, that's life-changing money. But now they face federal charges. Conspiracy to violate sanctions, operating a stateless vessel, document fraud. Potential sentences, 5 to 10 years in federal prison. Unless they cooperate. The FBI offers deals, testify about the network, identify the owners, provide evidence. In exchange, immunity, deportation instead of prison. Most accept immediately. Within 48 hours, investigators have names, bank accounts, communication records. The Shadow Fleet network is being dismantled from the inside. One crew member, the first mate, provides critical intelligence. There are 47 vessels in the network. I've worked on 5 of them. Who coordinates the operations? A man we only know as the broker, Russian, based in Dubai. He arranges everything: ship charters, cargo, buyers, false documents. How much does he make? 10% of every shipment, millions per month. This is the breakthrough investigators needed. The broker, a name, a location, a target. Within a week, Interpol issues an arrest warrant. The FBI freezes bank accounts in Dubai, Singapore, and Cyprus. $127 million in assets, frozen. The man who built the Shadow Fleet is now hunted internationally. Not arrested, not charged, but detained for questioning. The 35,000 tons of oil, seized as evidence. Eventually, it will be sold. Proceeds go to the U.S. Treasury. The vessel itself, subject to civil forfeiture proceedings. If federal prosecutors prove it was used for illegal activity, the U.S. keeps it. Estimated value: $12 million for the ship, $2.8 million for the oil. Small money in the grand scheme. But the message is priceless. Within a week, the Shadow Fleet starts to collapse. 6 tankers anchor off West African ports, refusing to move. 4 tankers divert to Cuban waters, claiming mechanical issues. 3 tankers simply disappear, transponders off, location unknown. Ship owners are abandoning vessels. Crews are demanding hazard pay. The network that moved $8 billion in oil is falling apart. War Pulse sources confirm more seizures are coming. U.S. Coast Guard has identified 12 priority targets. Shadow Fleet tankers currently at sea, tracked by satellite. The message from Defense Secretary Hegseth: anywhere in the world. He means it. Venezuela responds with threats. Any further aggression will be met with force. But what force? Their navy is outdated, their air force is limited. They can threaten, but they can't act. Russia deploys a frigate to the Caribbean. Protective presence. But one frigate can't protect 47 tankers scattered across 3 oceans. China increases naval patrols in the South China Sea. Routine exercises. But they're not sending ships to the Caribbean. Because they know this is a losing fight. Drop your prediction. What happens next? A. Shadow fleet completely dismantled. B. Venezuela finds new smuggling routes. C. Russia, China intervene militarily. The Sophia seizure proves several critical realities. 1. The U.S. can enforce maritime law anywhere. Advanced surveillance, global presence, political will. Deadly combination. 2. The shadow fleet is vulnerable. These vessels operate outside the law. That makes them targets. No country will defend them. No navy will protect them. 3. Economic warfare is effective. Venezuela's oil revenue depends on these tankers. Cut off the tankers, you cut off the money. 4. Russia's protection is limited. Reflagging vessels doesn't create immunity. International law applies to everyone. 5. The Trump administration is serious about enforcement. Operation Southern Spear isn't just rhetoric. It's active military and law enforcement operations. The captain of the James stands on his bridge as the Sophia is towed into port. His XO asks, "Sir, do you think this ends the Shadow Fleet?" The captain considers. 1 ship? No, but it's the beginning. They thought they could operate with impunity. Ghost ships, no accountability. We just proved them wrong. He's right. The Sophia was the first major seizure under Operation Southern Spear. But intelligence sources confirm 11 more tankers are under active surveillance. Real-time satellite tracking, Coast Guard cutters positioned, boarding teams ready. The next seizures could happen within days. Warpulse has obtained the target list. Priority: 1. MT Dark Ocean, currently loading oil in Venezuelan waters. Destination: West Africa. Priority 2. MT Silent Runner, en route to Cuba for fuel, then heading to Chinese waters. Priority 3. MT Ghost Trader, anchored off Trinidad, waiting for transfer orders. All 3 vessels are stateless. All 3 violate sanctions. All 3 will be seized. The Coast Guard is also coordinating with international partners. UK Royal Navy has 2 frigates in the Caribbean, sharing intelligence. Colombian Navy has coastal patrol boats monitoring Venezuelan ports. Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard is inspecting suspicious vessels in their waters. This is a multinational operation. The goal: total elimination of the Shadow Fleet. Not containment, not deterrence, elimination. Warpulse has learned that coordination between agencies is unprecedented. Coast Guard, Navy, Customs and Border Protection, DEA, FBI. plus international partners, UK Royal Navy, Colombian Navy, Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. This is a multinational operation. The goal: dismantle the entire Shadow Fleet network. Seize the vessels, arrest the operators, freeze the assets. And it's working? Venezuelan oil exports have dropped 18% since Operation Southern Spear began. That's $1.2 billion per month in lost revenue. For a country already in economic collapse, that's catastrophic. But there are risks. What if a Shadow Fleet tanker resists boarding? What if crew members open fire? What if Venezuela sends military assets to protect the tankers? The Coast Guard has rules of engagement. Warning shots authorized, disabling fire if necessary, lethal force as last resort. But every boarding carries risk. The next tanker might not surrender peacefully. Intelligence reports suggest some Shadow Fleet vessels have armed security. Mercenaries, former military, hired to prevent seizures. If operators fire on U.S. Coast Guard, the response will be overwhelming. Navy destroyers on standby, fighter jets ready to launch, special operations forces prepared. The message is clear: resistance is futile. President Maduro's regime depends on oil revenue. Without it, they can't pay the military, can't buy loyalty, can't maintain power. This operation isn't just about oil. It's about regime change. And it's happening in real time. The MT Sophia sits at Port Everglades, seized, silent. Her crew detained, her cargo confiscated, her future uncertain. She's just one ship. But she represents an $8 billion smuggling network. And that network is crumbling. Could this operation force Venezuela to negotiate? Will Russia retaliate? Is China's energy security threatened? War Pulse will track every development. Because this isn't just about one tanker in the Caribbean. This is about global power, maritime law, economic warfare. And the message is clear. The United States will enforce international sanctions. Anywhere, anytime, against anyone. The Shadow Fleet operated in darkness for years. Now the lights are on. And there's nowhere left to hide. Subscribe to War Pulse, where military operations become breaking news. Real conflicts, real consequences, real coverage. The Caribbean just became a no-go zone for smugglers. And Operation Southern Spear is just getting started. 47 vessels remain at sea. The Coast Guard is hunting them all. One by one. Until the Shadow Fleet is completely destroyed. War Pulse, where real conflicts meet real coverage.